There is one wine that inspires delight, parties and celebrations like no other. Whether it's Prosecco, Champagne, Cava or Sect, sparkling wine is the jolliest wine of them all. The reason it's so jolly is because of all the bubbles. In this lesson we are going to learn a little about its history, find out how it is made and discover the typical flavors and aromas you'll find in the sparkling wines you serve. Did you know that Champagne is not only a type of sparkling wine, but the name of the place where the wine is made? No wine grown outside of Champagne can be called Champagne. That's why the Italians call their sparkling wine Prosecco, the Spanish Cava, and the Germans Sect. If we start with a little history of Champagne, the birthplace of modern sparkling wine, we will begin to see where all the bubbles come from. In the 1600s, the area of Champagne was known for making still wines, wine with no bubbles. But the region's cold winters would stop fermentation, and so the wines were bottled before fermentation was properly finished. In the spring, fermentation would start up again as the temperatures rose and the yeast woke up. All the carbon dioxide created by this second fermentation would be trapped in the bottle. Those little bubbles of carbon dioxide made the wine fizzy. The famous monk Dom Perignon, who is normally said to have invented Champagne, spent his life trying to get rid of these pesky bubbles. It was only in the 1800s that a scientist in France properly understood how this fermentation in bottles worked and how to control it. This knowledge, combined with stronger bottles, better corks, and the English developing a taste for fizzy wines, was the start of modern champagne and sparkling wine. Let's take a closer look at the traditional method of making a bottle of sparkling wine. This method is known as the Champagne method. Step 1. Base wines are made and blended. In Champagne, mainly Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Pinot Meunier grapes are grown. But around the world, many other types are used to make sparkling wine. The grapes are picked earlier than grapes for non-sparkling wines and made into still wines with high acidity. The wines are then blended to achieve the flavor and character the winemaker wants. Step 2. Sugar and yeast are added. Extra sugar and yeast are added to the blended wine that will start a second fermentation after the wine has been bottled. Step 3. Bottling and secondary fermentation. The wine is placed in extra strong bottles that are sealed with a crown cap, like you find on beer bottles. The extra yeast and sugar combine and a fermentation begins. Because the bottle is sealed, all the carbon dioxide created by the fermentation cannot escape and is dissolved in the wine. The fermentation takes about 4 to 8 weeks to finish. Strong bottles are important, as the pressure created is double that of the air in a car tire. Step 4. Aging on the lees. When the fermentation is finished, all the dead yeast cells, the lees, are left in the bottle. The wines are now left to age on the lees for anywhere between 12 months to more than 5 years. During this time, the wine reacts with the lees to create buttery, toasty flavors. This process is known as autolysis. The longer the wine is in contact, the more toasty and nutty aromas and flavors are created. Step 5. Riddling. If a winemaker wants her sparkling wine to be clear, she has to get the lees out of the bottle, but leave the wine behind. Riddling is the process of slowly moving the bottles, turning them a little at a time from a horizontal position to a vertical one. As the bottles are slowly moved, all the lees moves down into the bottle neck. If this is done by hand, it can take up to 6 weeks. Today, many sparkling wine producers use big machines to automate the riddling, shortening the process to only 6 days. Step 6. Disgorgement and dosage. The final step of making traditional sparkling wine is to remove all of the lees that has settled in the neck of the bottle and insert the cork. First, the top of the bottle is frozen. Then they are turned the right way up. The crown cap is taken off and the frozen lees is shot out. This is called disgorgement. Because a little wine is also shot out, the bottles are topped up with a mixture of wine and sugar syrup. This mixture is called dosage and determines how dry or sweet the final sparkling wine will be. Finally, a special cork is inserted and secured with a special wire muzzle to make sure it stays in. Let's review the steps in making a sparkling wine in the traditional method. Step 1. Base wines are made and blended. Step 2. Sugar and yeast are added. Step 3. Bottling and secondary fermentation. Step 4. Aging on the lees. Step 5. Riddling. And Step 6. Disgorgement and dosage. This traditional method is used for champagne and other top-quality sparkling wines around the world, but it is costly and time-consuming. 2 other methods can be used to make sparkling wine, but the quality is not as good as the traditional method. The first is known as the charmat, or tank method. In this method, fermentation is allowed to occur in a massive pressurized tank. This fizzy wine is then transferred into bottles. The other is a method called carbonation, and this is used for cheaper sparkling wines. This method involves simply injecting carbon dioxide into a normal still wine. Let's briefly look at some of the flavors and aromas you will find in sparkling wine. The aromas and flavors of sparkling wines will depend on the grapes that have been used. If the wine is made in the style of champagne, using mainly Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Pinot Meunier, you will find aromas of lemon, lime, and strawberries, as well as biscuity bread-like aromas from the autolysis. A big aspect of quality in sparkling wine is the size of the bubbles. This texture on your tongue is known as the mousse. A very good sparkling wine will have tiny bubbles creating a soft and silky mousse. A poor sparkling wine, like those made using the carbonation method, will have big bubbles creating a too fizzy texture on the palate and take away from the flavors of the wine. Great sparkling wine is one of the most enjoyable wines to serve and to drink. It has a long history, and its complex production methods always make opening a bottle a special event.